One of the things that is very strange in today's physical retail land is that actually consumers have access to the least amount of information to make an informed decision. They have much more information when they're outside of the store through smartphones, social networks, etc. So I think that retail stores are going to have to open up the world of technology, open up the world of smart help and assistance into the retail environment. I think bots will play a significant part in that. What physical or virtual format the bot takes, I think, is unbelievably intriguing now, because it could go in one of two directions. It could be a pseudo search, with all the issues that search has. So you ask the bot a question, and it directs you to the best sort of route. In the search world, in a sense, that best route is predefined, predetermined. It's algorithmically based. It's done in order to generate as much income as possible for the various different search engines. Up until the point where you sort of leave the search environment and you then end up in the retailer's environment, where the retailer has control of what's going on. If the bot is something slightly different, whereas actually it is your concierge, it is your, it's sort of on your side as opposed to on the side of whoever it is who's paying for search terms, then I think we're entering into a completely different world and a completely different environment. Maybe even a more interesting and more exciting world and environment, where the bot has access to all of your data, is reading that data, is making decisions potentially on your behalf, is routing you to, I suppose, what classically would be called sort of the next best action based on information it knows about you and your preferences. Then the bot stops becoming a pseudo sort of search and starts to become an intelligent alternative or partner to you. And that, I think, is exceptionally interesting, exceptionally helpful, and phenomenally scary. The role that the bot has a potential to play is, in a sense, to be able to understand your journey, and then to be able to intervene and make choices and decisions, help you on that path to purchase, and recognising now that decision-making process, maybe 2-3 years ago, was a very linear process. You went from a need, you went to maybe to a store, maybe a couple of stores, and you physically bought something in the store, in a very linear sort of way, now to anything other than linear. It's all over the place. There's no necessarily start and finish to it. In fact, once you purchase something, that's just the start of another sort of process, which is that whole sort of referral. So I can see bots playing a very interesting role in helping navigate you as an individual through that non-linear path to purchase, but also helping the retailer understand where you may well be in that process and helping an intervention. How can you, in the virtual world, create a brand feel and a brand tone and a brand identity, which is not just about the way in which the graphics look and the visual identity, but there's some sort of tonality in it that is reflective of your brand. I think there are very few people that have solved that particular problem, but as the virtual world becomes increasingly more influential in consumers' discovery phases and also their ultimate brand choice, and where they do maybe their final transaction, the purchasing of it, I think it's imperative for the differential of the brand, for brand building, for the virtual world to have a distinctive brand tonality to it. Part of what I think should define what seamless is that you go into an interesting store, you have a dialogue with an associate in that store, it makes you feel good about the brand, it has the brand feel and tonality to it. To then go to a virtual environment where none of that is reflected is not a way to build a seamless brand experience. In the world of bots, in the world of smart intelligence, we're going to have to work out actually what we need to overlay as marketeers over a seamless process that has the capacity to differentiate one brand against another. In the desire to make things as seamless as possible and as fluid as possible and as frictionless as possible, you start to take out potentially the ability to have that sort of brand tone, have that brand conversation, and do things that are differentiating. I think if the world all moves in that sort of way, then I think it's going to be actually a pretty dull, boring experience for consumers. In this virtual world that we're all living in, where we have sort of almost ubiquitous choice, consumers we know are getting very frustrated with that abundance of choice, and actually brands are becoming significantly more important as opposed to less important in the navigation of how do I find exactly what I want, how do I reduce the time that I spent doing these things, and what's good in my mind versus what's good in somebody else's mind. I think those retailers that will grasp this first, I think, are those that have very sort of functional needs that their consumers need to be able to navigate pretty quickly. So, where retailers that have huge amounts of inventory, where helping the consumers navigate that abundance of choice is going to be something that is highly valued by both the consumer but also highly cost effective for the retailer as well. I think that's that first sort of category. I think the second sort of category is those retailers where trying to create differential is important. There's a great role for the fashion industry, the fashion retailers, to have a bot that can help and guide you through style, colour combinations, what goes, what doesn't go, what combinations you may already have in your wardrobe, where if you bought just one more item it gives you maybe 5 or 6 different sort of outfits or combination of outfits that you can use. And I think in those types of environments it actually could be very interesting, very liberating both for the retailer and for the consumer. Once we all work out how that sort of works and how you start to design in some of this technology into the very fabric of the way in which the store operates, works and is designed, I'm absolutely convinced that these bots will make a presence across that sort of omni-channel environment. And in a sense, why wouldn't you want it? If it's good and helpful when you're in the physical world, in the virtual world, why shouldn't it be good and helpful when you're in the physical world as well? Most retailers around the world for too long viewed Amazon as interesting but not going to have a significant impact in my business. I don't think there's a retailer on the planet now that doesn't view Amazon as a rigorous, challenging competitor that has the ability to redefine markets. I think Amazon, because of the data that it has, potentially has a leading edge on what a bot could be in terms of how it links the data that it has about you, the data that it has about all of its product ranges in a way which could help. But I don't underestimate the challenges to make bots interesting, likeable, unspooky, a step change from an automated call centre. If they rise to the challenge, we rise to the challenge of being able to do that, then I think there is a great future. If it's just a marginal improvement over what we've currently got, then I think they will fast disappear. I mean, bots potentially, could end up in the cutting room of technology floor, or could be seen as something that's unbelievably liberating to make our lives slightly easier, make our purchases more seamless. I think the key thing for me is the whole relationship between sort of what you promise and what you deliver. And there's nothing more frustrating in a technological age, in a technological world, where you say the technology is going to do something and it serially disappoints. That's the best way of ensuring that your customers never touch it again. And I think we've become, as consumers, in one way unbelievably spoilt in the technology that we've been using, and the other way, very, very unsupportive of technologies that don't work. We abandon them phenomenally quickly, and the bot could go that way if it's not positioned correctly. I don't think there is any retailer around the world that's really got their hands around bots. I think they are just about there with sort of intelligent call centres, trying to route the knowledge that the organisation has to the hands of the associates, in a sort of a iPad-y, bring your own device. And I think they are struggling at the moment with the multitude of technological things that can go into the store, their physical store and their virtual store.